Have you ever thought about how teachers are prepared as well as other education professionals? Have you ever thought about how the quality of educator preparation is sustained either through accreditation or continuous improvement? If so, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Ed Up Accelerated Excellence Inspirational Shorts, recorded during the fall 2024 annual CAEPCon conference, standing for CAEP, the Council for Accreditation of Educator Preparation. Join us in dialogue with leaders of educator preparation from across the United States. I am Jacob Easley II, PhD, PMP. I am your host, and this is Ed Up Accelerated Excellence, a podcast for the advancement of educational effectiveness and equity across traditional and non-traditional learning spaces and experiences. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Ed Up Accelerated Excellence, the podcast for the advancement of educational effectiveness and equity, and we're recording at the CAEPCon or CAEP Conference Fall 2024 here in Arlington, Virginia, and we have another outstanding guest. Would you mind introducing yourself, stating your name, your affiliation, and your role at your institution?
Oh, good morning. My name is Dr. LaVada Taylor. I am the Dean of the College of Education at Chicago State University, located on the south side of Chicago.
South side of Chicago.
South side of Chicago.
So I've met some of your colleagues,
Yes.
and they quickly pointed me in your direction to talk to you. They said they work at a wonderful institution with an outstanding dean, but I told them I've never heard of your organization. So you got to tell us more. What's unique about your institution?
I consider, and so I'm going to speak from my personal standpoint, I consider Chicago State to be a gem, right, in the Midwest. We are one of the only predominantly black institutions across 5 states in the Midwest. Chicago State University has a 100-plus year legacy. It was the first teachers college in the state of Illinois and in the city of Chicago. So we have a very long history. Banks is a graduate of...
Which Banks is this?
Which Banks do you think?
James Banks?
The James Banks went to
Okay.
Chicago State. So we have a rich history and legacy. So I feel honored to be able to say that I'm in this space and to be the dean of this very historical place.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful because I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
We're here at the conference. What have you learned so far that you think you're going to take back and to mull over with your faculty and staff that will advance educational effectiveness or equity at your institution?
That is an excellent question. I think for me, the sessions, and I have Nancy here, and I appreciate her.
Nancy
Graham.
Nancy Graham.
Yes, I'm Nancy Grimm. I'm a professor in the Department of Education Studies in the College of Education, and I also do the pre-K-12s and secondary education programs.
Oh, Nancy, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So what I appreciate about Nancy is her background in accreditation, right, and assessment. And what I appreciate about this conference and the opportunity to become a part of CAEP is its commitment to excellence through continuous program improvement. It's very easy for programs to become very settled and not paying attention to our constituents, which for me, the number one constituents are the students and our children. And we tend to serve children from historically marginalized populations that oftentimes do not have the same resources or opportunities to educational excellence that other school districts are allowed. So CAEP, with their foundational standards, right, means that we have to level up and make sure that equity is made prominent for every child. So my biggest takeaway is that whole leveling the playing field in a real way. Because if you're accredited, no matter where you stand, then you know that your program is also embedded in those pillars of excellence. We're producing teachers that are part of that pillar of excellence who are then going back into our community to service our children.
So can you paint a picture for us, one example of what that excellence and equity looks like
For
on your
me,
campus?
well, I guess I represent the campus. Excellence in excellence in education for me is a two-part. It's about having a teacher that is culturally competent, right? But also content proficient, right? So I'm one of those folks that say, you know what, I'm not afraid of the test, because what the test does is measure the competency. And when we look at research, and we know oftentimes teachers of color go back and serve populations of color, and we ask the question, how many of those teachers are credentialed and certified? Juxtaposed to the mainstream market is very few, but yet we're in a predominant situation teaching children of color. So it becomes a very vicious cycle. So if the standard says that 85% of our graduates at least are fully credentialed, then that population then is going back and teaching children. You should see a marketable difference between the outcomes, because you now have highly qualified teachers in those spaces. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. They're credentialed and graduates of
baby.
an accredited institution.
Right, and they're culturally competent.
Right.
So that's another piece that people tend to, they want to forget. And they also forget that, education as a whole is a culture, right? I think about Bruner's work and talking about education from a very middle class ideological frame. But when you take that ideology and you are dealing with historically underprivileged children or historically marginalized children, there's a gap. And if that teacher doesn't have an awareness of that gap so that they can reach those children, so that you can then impart that information that you have, or share and grow through a transference of different information so that those children can grow, that's also a very important piece to me, transforming the field of education, particularly in urban and rural spaces.
So really honing in on preparing folks who are culturally astute, culturally competent, to meet students where they are, and content
absolutely.
proficient.
To me, you can't have one without the other. So I can have all, again, we shared, I have background in Louisiana, background in Tennessee, I hone into who I am, and so that's the cultural piece. But if I'm not a specialist, if I'm not competent in the content area, what good am I doing? Right? Crud with crud begets crud. That's John Dewey. Wilson basically said the same thing when he talked about what real education is supposed to be about. You need both the skills and the functional education for that child. And that's what I see in CAEP.
So what words of inspiration would either of you share for your colleagues at other educator preparation programs that would advance educational effectiveness and or equity?
Well, from my perspective, I'm starting my 29th year at Chicago State, so keep that in mind. But those of us who come to Chicago State, we feel that it is a calling, so to speak, in order to equip our students, our teacher candidates, to go out and transform the lives of the student learners, the communities that we work and live in. It's just who we are, and so coming to CAEP and earning that kind of credential helps affirm the work we do, so that others will recognize that what we do is of value, and that our candidates are well prepared to do the work that not everyone can do. So I think it helps strengthen that body of evidence. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
You want to add?
Oh, ask the question again. I was so busy listening.
So what inspiration would you share with other, as a dean, what inspiration would you share to other deans to advance educational effectiveness and or equity on their campus?
I would share, keep the babies in your heart. Keep the children in mind. Don't run from the data, because the data is not meant to scare us. The data is meant to share where we can go and how we can be so effectual in the lives of all children. That's what I would share. Don't give up, because we can do this.
I agree. We can do this. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
So I want to thank both of you for this opportunity to learn with and from you here at EdUp Accelerated Excellence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for engaging with the EdUp Accelerated Excellence community. You can find this episode and others on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Music. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to follow us and share within your network.